All right, guys, quick little conversation today. And obviously, by the title, you know I want to talk about national reciprocity. Now, first up, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you I have not read a single word of any proposed legislation or laws or rules or regulations on national reciprocity. Okay, so I'm coming at you blind, and I'm freely willing to admit that I could be completely off base and wrong on all of this. But I want us to have the conversation and really understand what we're asking when it comes to national reciprocity, to really understand the possible repercussions and implications of this. Okay, that's it. That's all. I am not jumping on the national reciprocity bandwagon, and I'll tell you why. And this is why I want you guys to really stop to think about this. If you are, that's fine, but really understand all the angles here, because what we are basically asking for is the federal government to step in and write new laws and rules and regulations concerning a part of our Second Amendment rights, specifically the part to bear arms, to be able to carry our guns. That's what we're asking for. Now, there's several reasons why I don't like this. One is obviously right off the bat, why do we want the federal government involved in anything? Don't we want them out? Especially in a situation like this where, depending on where you live, in most states now, you have reciprocity with most of the rest of the country. I mean, this is a problem that the states are already taking care of. Granted, slower than many of us would like, but it is a problem that is slowly but surely being fixed. There are always going to be some holdouts. You're always going to have your New Yorks, your New Jerseys, your Californias, and that sucks. But why do we need the federal government to write some new law or rule or regulation to do this when their job is already to protect the Constitution, including the Second Amendment, and they already have the right to come down on a state that is not respecting people's constitutional rights, specifically their Second Amendment rights? They could already go into California right now without writing a single new law or enacting any new legislation and go there to the legislators there, to the governor, to the people that run California and say, no, we're not going to allow you to infringe on people's Second Amendment rights, whether they live in this state or they're just here to visit. As a citizen of this country, they have the right to keep and bear arms. And if their state has already deemed them worthy to do so, you will respect that right, or we as the federal government will put a boot up your ass. They already have the right to do this. They don't need to write more laws. I mean, what happens in 4 years or 8 years when Democrats are back in power? And they will be back in power, make no mistake about it. To think otherwise is to be naive. Republicans will not retain power forever. What happens when they come back in power? And all of a sudden, hey, here's this nice little law that concerns the Second Amendment that we can tweak and abuse and misuse and turn it against people who are pro-gun and pro-Second Amendment. What happens then? Are you going to be happy that there's a law in the books that we've given power, even just a little bit of power, to the federal government concerning our Second Amendment? No, you won't be. And that's the problem. It leaves the door open for abuse by the other side, by the anti-gunners, who eventually will get back in power. Not to mention the door it's going to open on a nationwide scale of what happens when these other states that go, hey, now this person from Texas can carry in my state of California, and they don't have to pass a background check necessarily to get their gun. We need to push for universal background checks. We need to push for 3-day or 10-day waiting periods, or whatever it is. We are opening ourselves up to a nationwide fight against these things. And maybe those things don't pass. Hopefully they wouldn't pass, but we are opening ourselves up to even more legislation. Why not just sit back and encourage the federal government to use the power they already have to protect us, the citizens who have the right to keep and bear arms? Have them do their job and protect the Constitution as they already have the ability to do. Let's really step back and look at possible repercussions from this, because I am as pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, pro-Constitution as it comes. I want national reciprocity, but I don't want it in the form of any sort of law or rule or federal legislation that may someday come back to bite us in the ass.